Hey guys, it's Matt. This is not a chapter in the book. I thought about making it a chapter in the book, but the book's already way too long. It converts to almost 600 pages paperback, and it just can't keep getting longer and longer. It'll never get out. I have talked about elements of what I'm about to present before, but I don't think I've ever put it together exactly like this. And it is incredibly important how this community has been played. All of us, me, you, everybody's been played to the nth degree, and we need to recognize the signs of being played, and that's the purpose of this video. Now, the next chapter, because of this video, will probably push till tomorrow. It's pure entertainment for those that we would call conspiracy junkies, that segment of who tunes in here. I'm still a conspiracy junkie, of course. You know, what do I do? But it is real conspiracy, what I'm about to present in the next chapter, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. This is the way I think this event really went down. But there's a way of looking at it. We can look at it as basically like pure entertainment. How do they lay out such a script? Fascinating. That's the way to look at it. I'll talk a little bit about that in the chapter lead-in, versus how horribly dark and depressing it is when they pull off this sort of conspiracy. So that's the way we have to look at this sensational conspiracy and how they've pulled these events off. And one of the biggest events in history is the topic of the next chapter. So if you're about to tune out, conspiracy junkies, you want to stick with me at least for the next chapter. But this is too important to let go any longer. How the heck are we being played in many different ways? But this is one of the big ways. The sensationalism around certain types of conspiracy. And when we as a group embrace the sensational aspect of it and use the terminology that they want us to use, or we present it in the way that the system, wants us to present it, then we have no chance of ever getting the information out to the people around us, our family, friends, neighbors, everybody that lives over there in the apartment complex or the town homes over here. The way we've taken to analyzing or discussing what we'll call this truth, we've been fooled into doing it in such a way that nobody will take us seriously. And shame on us for falling right into their trap. I'm going to give the examples. I'll jump into it in just a moment. But what I mean, if it's not clear what I'm about to say, is, you know, whoever or whatever you think is behind the dark curtain here. Something is in control here. And news to anybody that just stumbled upon this video, George Bush and idiots like that, weak little people like Barack Obama, no, they're not the top of the food chain, okay, in terms of leadership. No, Theresa May, these are relative peons who decide next to nothing except maybe what hors d'oeuvres to put out during the White House Easter egg hunt. They are not even close to the top. Any dumb buffoon that puts his fat face on television doesn't decide squat. Now, whatever we're going to call the folks that occupy the back room, maybe Obama was allowed to put his head in from time to time and serve them coffee. Whatever they are, at some point there was a long, demonic boardroom. And they sat around the boardroom and pondered. Whatever they are, they pondered. Hello, can I say something here? I'm just one of those, some creature in the fifth seat. At some point, some of these people out here are pretty smart, and they're going to catch on. They're going to kind of see what we're doing. They're going to kind of sniff out what this reality construct is all about. And what do we do? Maybe this conversation took place 1,000 years ago or 100,000 years ago. I don't know. What do we do when they begin to notice? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Creature in chair number 3 says, well, what we do is we give them, when they sense what's going on, we lead the terminology. We give them the biggest pissed on breadcrumbs, the biggest turds to put in their bag, and we have them as the boy that cried wolf. They'll use our terminology or our way of presenting it, so nobody around them will ever believe that they're telling the truth. They'll immediately be labeled as crazy, conspiracy theorist, somebody not worth listening to, somebody that's going off the deep end. And well, mostly, there's many ways we can do this. Glad you asked, chair number 3. I'm creepy chair number 5. There's many ways we can do this, but we'll start by leading with terminology. So when this group over here at some point notices that I don't think anybody really went to the moon, and what exactly does that mean? Well, it means NASA lies, and what are they lying about? Maybe everything. Well, when they notice that the realm is really not as liars like NASA described, what we'll do is we'll have every one of them lead with the term flat Earth. And when they utter the word flat Earth, and anybody around is listening, people just coming out of the air-conditioned mall that just got their ice cream cones, or their family and friends at the Thanksgiving table, as soon as they utter flat Earth, see, we'll have this population conditioned for 500 years that anybody that says that is as wacky as batshit. That's what we'll do. The dummies that want to talk about how the Earth is something other than what NASA says, they won't be smart enough. And guys, I'm not picking on anybody here. I've fallen into the same traps. So include me when I say the dummies. Okay, I'll include myself. I've fallen into all these traps over the years, but let's recognize them and come out of it. We will give them terms such as flat Earth again, so they'll lead with that, and everybody will go, "I knew there was something wrong with that Matt. Boy, what kind of glue was he sniffing?" See, the best way to do it, if those people are coming out of the mall, is to say, or approaching anybody, okay, is I have some evidence here that really points to the fact that the world we live in is not as it's described, and I'd like to show you that evidence. Well, in what way? Well, let me show the evidence, and we'll talk about it. Very subtly getting people engaged and involved. You lead with flat Earth, something this society has been conditioned to absolutely immediately put in the loony bin. It's been conditioned for 500 years. So why would you possibly use that term? Now, the channels that deal in this, they're going to say it's important that the information gets out to those like us, those that sniff out that this is some sort of reality construct, that sniff out there's a script running, that sniff out things are not what they appear to be. But those channels that talk about flat Earth, they will all say they're not just about talking to their own type, their own brethren like us. They're always trying to spread the word to the regular person. So why on earth would you use a word, the word that comes with tremendous sensationalism, a stigma, I don't know what to say, an attached reputation? You wouldn't use those terms. So the leaders of the flat Earth community haven't figured that out. I mean, even there's a Mandela effect channel called Recall Vector that I pop in from time to time. I don't agree with all his Mandela effects. I am Mandela affected, but he's always trying to change the terminology, which I'll give him credit for. I think he uses something like recall parity anomaly. He'll use different terms because he can sniff out that they want us calling it Mandela effect. And that's it. All of these terms I'm going to go through, to me, potentially are generated and derived by the system itself. What else do we have as other examples? And by the way, let me pause. All of these examples, it seems like I'm kind of picking a fight with the channels that focus on these different elements or areas of what we call truth. And I'm not picking on them. I want to point out to everybody, this is one of the ways the system plays us. This is one of the ways the system gets us into a box so nobody normal outside of our circles pays one bit of attention to anything we're saying. And if anybody ever goes after me because of what I'm saying here, like flat Earth channels go after me because of what I just presented, it tells you all you need to know about who's really trying to get to the bottom of things and who's potentially representing other interests. Because no matter what you believe or how wrong I might be about some of this, It is absolutely legitimate and on the table that if we use the wrong terminology, nobody around us is going to not only not give a shit, they're going to immediately be turned off and repelled like two op ends of the same end of a magnet against everything that we're saying. So this is so common sense, using the right terminology, that once you see it, that anybody that would really take offense at what I'm saying here is either an element of the system itself or just so darn insecure they're not worth listening to anyway. We have with David Icke, David Icke, we have the term reptilian. Okay, same thing, guys. That creepy boardroom. Well, some of these people here might get a sense that, those of us here in the penthouse, of the top penthouse room in the pyramid, we are not the same as they are. We are a bloodline that's split. We are a chromosome we isolated, or a DNA difference that's very slight, yet we are different. No matter how different they may be, those that occupy the creepy penthouse at the top of the pyramid. So they would say, some of them might notice that there might be two different groups of humanoid here. What do we do? Well, what we do is whenever they notice, we have the leaders of those who notice label us, whether they believe it or not. We want them to use our terminology. They will label us as shape-shifting reptilians. Now let me ask you, how far would that get you talking to your neighbor? What do you think? Jack, are you there? Are you home? Yeah, come on in. You need to borrow some sugar? No. I'd like to tell you how there's another element here in this reality, on this earth, and the controllers are actually shape-shifting reptilians. Slam of the door, right? Or you could say, at the right time, with the right opportunity, have you ever noticed how the queen and the royal bloodlines always have to intermarry? They always are looking for another similar bloodline. They don't marry regular people. And this goes back as long as history is written. Why would that be? Why are they so interested in protecting a bloodline? Getting people thinking, for example, instead of just leading with shape-shifting reptilians. Getting people thinking in a certain way. Well, I'm going to say, well, yeah, they do that. But, Harry, what just happened with Harry and... I don't know, Madeline, whoever. What's her name? Markin or Mark? I don't know. Harry's new mudblood. That's what they would call it in Harry Potter. Not of pure blood. Mudblood. You don't think that stuff is dropped in Harry Potter for a reason? There's a lot of truth in movies like that. Even Harry Potter. They would say, no, they don't do that anymore, Matt. Look what Harry just married a young woman who is has 1/6 black. Okay, her mother was light-skinned black, and she is extremely light-skinned black, I believe. Harry's. So somebody, I don't think she's Asian. I don't follow it that closely. But somebody would say, well, look, man, they don't do that anymore. That's the past. But see, that's a ruse. What they did with Harry, most people don't realize that Harry is so far removed from the throne, it's not even funny. I might be just behind Harry in terms of being, oh boy, I don't want to plant anything in anybody's head like I'm somebody, I'm some schmuck. I'm just making a point. People think that Harry, Kate Middleton is married to, I don't even know the guy's name. I don't follow it. But the one who's next in line behind Prince Charles. Boy, Prince Charles is probably like, am I ever going to become queen? I mean, that was a Freudian slip. No tranny reference there. Charles is probably like, am I ever going to be king? This woman doesn't die. She might be there till she's 150. Who knows how old she is, Elizabeth? Do you get the sense like Charles is never going to be king? Do you kind of get that sense? I know I'm straying. I'll get back in a second. But you have Charles's son, whatever his name is, married Kate Middleton. He's in line for the throne. But his son, Charles's grandson, I guess it's the Queen's great-grandson, he's more in line for the throne than Harry. So they take Harry and they say, Harry, we want to put the ruse out that we don't care about bloodlines anymore. So is it fixed on purpose that Harry actually sought out not only somebody that is not of the royal bloodline, whatever that might be, but is actually a percentage black, or she's from California, a percentage African American, whatever terminology that you want to use. I don't. Again, I think she's black. She could be Asian. I don't really pay attention to it, but she's not. Surely isn't pure blood Spencer like Diana. So Harry was like, "So you're going to force me?" I mean, I think that it could go down this way? Yeah, I'll get back to the point in a moment. Somebody's screaming at this video, going, "Matt, you're getting awfully crazy here. You're playing into the hands, and didn't you just give us a lesson on maybe how not to present things?" And yeah, but see, I'm presenting it to you, people in these circles. I wouldn't present things the same way to my neighbor, for example. That's the point. If somebody stumbles upon this video, so be it. I'm not sending this video to my neighbor. It's for people that kind of get something that's going on here. We all are in the same boat together. People watching this see things that others don't. So is it possible that Harry didn't even want to? He's like, "You're going to force me to marry somebody that has a little ethnicity to them?" "Yeah, we're going to force you to do that, Harry." It puts out the ruse, we don't care about bloodlines anymore. And many people are convinced of that because of what just happened with Harry. And Harry was probably like, "Well, I'm not comfortable with that. My brother, he gets to marry white skin, and everybody gets to marry close to the bloodline, and I don't want to marry ethnicity. What's the minimum amount of ethnicity I can get involved with?" Well, there's a lot of actresses in Hollywood, and here's the Victoria's Secret catalog. There's black models in there. You can, they'll all be real happy to marry royalty. You can pick whatever one you want, but there has to be some ethnicity, Harry, so people believe the ruse that we don't care about bloodlines anymore. But see, when it comes to those that will be king or queen, you won't see any ethnicity in their chosen Camilla partners. Okay. And Camilla, whatever she is, she ain't going to be queen. Okay, that whatever Prince Charles picked up, the bloodline was through Diana Spencer. She had offspring, pure bloodline. Spencer, I mean, this is a name nobody even knows in the UK, but I've seen documentaries on it. Mansions where you walk, the Spencer family, nobody's ever heard of outside of the UK. You walk into the main mansion, artwork greater than almost any museum you could think of, just piled up throughout the whole, just priceless artwork everywhere, hundreds of rooms. This is the real money on earth, folks. Not Bill Gates and all those schmucks that they line up in the Forbes list. That's all new money. That's all new money, not of this bloodline schmucks. Of course, to them, we're greater schmucks. We don't appear on anybody's list. Well, we appear on some lists, not the type of list we want to be on. But we're not going to appear on any Forbes list. All that Forbes stuff is new money. You want to see old money, stuff, the people that really have the money, watch the documentary on the Spencers. The room, the entranceway into the mansion. And we think Bill Gates and people like that have more money when they've been sitting on the money for potentially 1,000 years. Just, you could put it in a savings account, 1% over that long, and it would be trillions. So the point is, it is definitely on the table that they, to keep up this ruse, they force Harry to go. You can pick any supermodel you want, just make sure she has some ethnicity. Okay, I'll do it, but only if she looks white. I don't know what he said. But did he just go out and choose the girl of his dreams? I highly doubt it. I'm guessing. Do I have any insider information? No. Okay, so the point of that, we were talking about leading with shape-shifting reptilians. Wouldn't it be better to have a conversation with those around us where we talk about a bloodline trying to be preserved? And if that's the case, there are some really theories worth our attention where these people might be different than we are. And let me explain that to you, Mr. Neighbor. If you lead with shape-shifting reptilian, you're dead in the water. They know this. That's why they give us these terms. This is how we're being played. What else do we have? We have, with the California fires, directed energy weapons. I'm not saying the channels that present that the fires are unnatural, which we all agree on. The California fires are unnatural. Big rigs and Mack trucks, just with all the steel, just don't burn down to nothing, down to powder. No, steel doesn't burn. So it's unnatural. And I'm not saying those channels, when they talk about directed energy weapons, that they're in on it, or they're intentionally working for the man, trying to mislead. But they could be being misled, as we've all been misled. I don't know the intentions behind those channels. They seem like good people. I'm not going to mention any names. They seem legitimate. But it seems obvious when one just takes a step back and considers these things like we're doing now. If you say somebody in the first sentence that we have some evidence that these California fires are unnatural, if you go into the second sentence with directed energy weapons from space, you see how that's going to turn people off? That's not going to be too good in terms of the common Joe or the common Jane kind of listening. Oh, directed energy weapons from space? Tell me more about that. Or, what do you mean by these fires aren't natural? Well, here's a picture of a few Mack trucks. They have over 150 parts here that are steel, considered the highest grade of steel. They melted down to nothing. People don't realize you could lay a piece of steel in a campfire for 1,000 years, and it will never ever melt, ever. No matter how much you cook up that campfire with how much logs and how much intensity, it will never ever melt. It's a physical or physics impossibility. So you can present it like that. You start talking about directed energy weapons from space, no one's going to pay attention. I mean, but it's common sense. But this community doesn't learn that basic lesson, or those that push the sensational terminology are doing it on behalf of the system itself. With directed energy weapons and leading with that, that brings us right back to 9/11. And maybe this is how they put truth out and hide or disguise the truth at the same time. You put out, now it certainly, the dustification theory from Judy Wood, Matt, you're breaking your own rules, you're talking about crazy shit. Yeah, to you and me, between you and me. Remember, just between you and me. I'm not gonna go to my neighbor and I'm gonna talk to you about dustification. Are you in there, Harry? I'm not gonna do that. But Judy Wood does appear to be the closest to the truth, because when whatever happened in North Tower in the 90th floor, there was no rubble pile. And the dust was kicked up into the air so high it covered Manhattan. And we've seen people running with cameras where it's so thick it covers pitch black, blocks out the sun. So that giant cloud that was over Manhattan, of course, was the tower itself. It's almost obvious at this point. There was no rubble pile. There was no pile of steel and cement. The cloud was the tower. So she talks about dustification, but then always mixed in, what do we have? Directed energy weapons. So somebody might be interested in saying, well, yeah, how did 90 unaffected floors in the North Tower collapse down and go to dust? Wouldn't it be a big pile of cement and concrete and desks and pencil sharpeners and everything else in the office? Wouldn't it be just a big pile? It was collapsed down, pancaked down. There was no fire, nothing that would change the elements or the matter itself in the 90 unaffected floors. How did it become dust? Somebody might entertain that. Oh, directed energy weapons from space, or they're going to turn us off. That's how these conversations have been hijacked, in my opinion. So, I mean, I spent like 5 minutes just writing this list out, and there seems to be one, no matter, for every single conspiracy. We have the moon is blank. I mean, there's the real truth of it, that you look up at that thing and nobody landed on it. Nobody probably can ever land on it. It's very local, in my opinion. I would never say that to anybody down the street, or they'd think I'm loco. I'm saying it to you. It's local. You can look up and say, oh, my vision sucks, and I can almost make out details, and it's local. It's just, when the eclipse 3 or 4 weeks ago, the lunar eclipse, I don't know what exactly goes on with these quote heavenly bodies. I'm skeptical of everything. It did appear that the Earth's shadow was causing a shadow. It's what it appeared. I mean, I don't know one way or another, but just that shadow being cast on the moon, I was like, it's like right there. It's local. When it's in the blue sky, if it was 250,000 miles out in space, its light couldn't fight through the particles in the atmosphere that light up bright blue. It couldn't fight through that and get to our eye. The only way, in my opinion, we can see the damn thing is if it's local, if it's in the blue itself, whatever this is. So, yeah, I entertain the craziest theories of anybody about what the moon is or is not. But when you start talking with people about it, there's a way you can go about it. You want to start talking about Saturn moon matrix and Harry, come over here. Yeah, put your weed whacker down. Oh, well, you're whacking something else. Come over here. I'm going to tell you about how the moon is actually beaming a signal in from Saturn to mind control all of us. Look, people screaming at this video right now, going, "Well, Matt, nobody does that." I'm over accentuating the point that we do get to these sensational / crazy terms too quickly, and we've been taught to do this by the system itself. We've all been given ammunition. But one of the ammunitions has been given to us by the system itself. It's a grenade that's going to blow up on us. And that's what we've been led to talk about this in a certain way. And there's so many, like back to flat earth, there's so many smart people talking about it that use the word, like Jeranism, seems like a very smart, down-to-earth guy. I don't follow it that much. I've seen a lot of his videos. I enjoy them. He seems legit. I don't know. I don't trust. Most channels I don't trust. But if I like Jeranism, for example, and I've heard him say the word flat earth thousands of times over the years, if I have, and I'm into that, I don't follow him that much, but if you're into that, I'm saying, and then it becomes like, in your subconscious, you hear, well, smart guy like that, they just talk about flat earth, they admit it, they're big enough to admit it, so I'll just walk down the Santa Monica Pier and say, let me tell you about flat earth. But we don't realize how that has no chance of getting through to anybody that's considered outside of our circles. And that is the intention of the way the system has laid this down for us, in my opinion. So the moon is this, the moon is that. It's how you present it. Let's just move on. Sandy Hook, in my opinion, is one of these things by itself. It's not that there's an element of Sandy Hook where people are going to talk to us, and if I say a smiling, laughing, jovial Robbie Parker, for example, if I say that, it's going to turn them off, where I would have normally been able to get through them. I think Sandy Hook by itself is one of these false hooks or breadcrumbs, or the way I describe the word flat earth, for example, just choosing the wrong way of presenting. Sandy Hook accomplishes that by itself. That was, to me, its intention. Not gun control or anything like. Did anybody ever notice? I actually went to a gun show shortly after Sandy Hook. The line was 3,000 miles down these events lead to 10 times the gun sales. Okay, is there an element of gun control here? Yes. Is that primarily what these events are about? I don't believe so at this point. That's only peering around one corner. We've learned in this reality, peering around one corner ain't good enough. 2 corners, maybe. 3, perhaps. The whole Saturn's cube, well, maybe. But it ain't good enough to just look around one corner. So I've noticed Sandy Hook as a tremendous trigger. And to me, it accomplishes their goals directly. I have been in the presence of a family member where they came to me and said, somebody told me that you don't think anybody was killed. And you know me, I'm not going to apologize, and I usually say, no, it's not that I don't think anybody was killed. I know nobody was killed. And I try to say with as much confidence as possible, and knowing who they know me, or who they believe me to be, or they've known me their entire lives. They know I've always been somebody that has excelled in most things they do, summa cum laude at Penn State, worked in big corporations, somebody that was a very successful child of the Matrix. You would think that would establish some credibility for me in whatever argument I'm about to present. No, none at all. Oh, Sandy Hook. I mean, they became almost no, they became violent, not almost violent. They weren't about to attack me, but the blood pressure raced, the triggeredness, the this. So people aren't following me. What I'm saying is, if we have a great argument about how nobody went to the moon, and many of us do, if the people around us also know that we believe that no one died in Sandy Hook, that will be enough by itself to taint every other argument we possess. To me, this was likely the purpose of Sandy Hook. Have you ever, if you don't know what I'm talking about, folks, be prepared. Go talk to somebody about Sandy Hook and see the reaction. Hopefully that person isn't the violent sort, or it ends relationships overnight. It ends friendships. Some of you won't know, but I don't suggest doing it. It's not going to be good, whoever you talk to about it. And I think that's what its role was. So if I was talking with somebody for 4 or 5 weeks with some really strong arguments why nobody went to the moon, and so much time has passed, we're at a point where people might actually listen a little bit. As soon as, and I've had my own father did this to me. And I think I actually was dumb enough to say, yeah, nobody died. We talked about the moon. Of course, he believes all the regular official stories about everything. He just incapable of, he thinks Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK. I mean, he believes all the official stories. But he listened a little bit when it came to the moon. But then what he did was a very interesting psychological tactic. He said, well, what else don't you believe in? Do you believe this? And I don't know what I said. But then I think this is the way it went down. I think he said, well, do you believe anybody died at Sandy Hook? It's been a while, folks. I don't remember. But this is how it works. And exactly the way my conversation with my father went down, I don't remember exactly, or maybe I suppressed part of it. But I would likely said, no, nobody died. Okay. Now, in their mind, in their subconscious, they now have grabbed what they need to grab. They've grabbed on to the crazy, people in Monopoly have a get out of jail free card that allows you to do something. They've grabbed their card now that allows them to do something. It allows them to assign you into a crazy pen or a lunatic pen, and no matter any other positions you have on anything, 9/11, the moon landing, it's all poppycock. Because now he knows, or this person knows, you don't believe anybody died in Sandy Hook, therefore you must be just lunatic about everything. So I'm not even going to really try to even listen anymore about your presentation, about what happened or didn't happen in Apollo. I believe that's what Sandy Hook was. So everything else we notice, we have that, or people know we believe that. It's enough for them to consciously, subconsciously, or both, or unconsciously write us off about everything. I'm not exactly explaining this correct, but you kind of sense what I'm saying here, and there could be some truth to it. It just seems like, I'm sorry, they just want to take our guns. That is so first grade conspiracy. It's a knee-jerk reaction, which is a logical conclusion, but by those just waking up into our true predicament, not really understanding what's going on here. You got to look around two corners. So what else do we have? The Super Bowl halftime shows, I think, are the same way. I think, when Katy Perry comes out as the whore of Babylon with her cup of filth, riding the beast, and the biblical references are so easy. The metaphor or what the analogy or whatever they're trying to present is so easy to see. They're not, in the knee-jerk reaction in the truth community is just look at all these Satanists. Look at all these Satanists. And it's just too simple of a story. So they're just trying to, they're trying to present a halftime show which is a satanic representation of certain elements of the book of Revelation, and they're doing it Billions of people are watching, all sorts of people, theologians, biblical scholars, and they're just hoping to get away with it. They're just hoping to have their little ode to Satan, and they're just trying to. But are they really trying to get away with it when it's Katy Perry on the back of dressed in red on the back of the red beast, and billions of people are watching around the world? Are they really trying to get away with it, or are they trying to get you to notice it? Are they trying to get thousands and tens of thousands to make those connections? Of course they're trying. They want you to make those connections. Because in my opinion, drawing it, oh, that's just satanic Luciferianism, that's just drawing you in the wrong direction. They're not trying to get away with it. Look at all this subtle stuff in the Super Bowl halftime show. Everything anybody finds, they want it found. Really? They're just trying to get away with it with billions of eyes watching. God, this community needs to get smarter. Matt, you arrogant prick! You just make it seem like you have all the answers. I keep saying I don't. But come on, guys, when they all this Super Bowl halftime show breakdown, and I used to engage in it, but you think they're trying to get away with anything, or are they wanting you to see it? It's obvious. Now, what exactly they want you to see, and then how they want you to interpret all that. That's a different debate. But this does relate to what I'm saying about they plant certain things so certain people notice it, and then they present it to others in a way that doesn't help our cause. Pizzagate. Same thing. I'm not going to go into it at length. I've done it many times. I'm just not going to do it here, guys. If there's newbies here that are offended, that that's just was some Matt. You don't see that as a sick pedo ring? Do the sick pedo rings exist? Of course, almost certainly. But they're not going to put it in everybody's face and lay the most ridiculous breadcrumbs of all time, so we're drawn to it. Comet ping pong. James Alephant is running around as a gay man, pictures of him in a leather suit with tunnels, pictures of tunnels where they were running the children, and the pedophilia symbols right on the menus. Come on. And Tony Podesta that WikiLeaks just happened to collect all these pedo emails up. What a coincidence. And Anthony's Weiner was involved with his 300,000 emails, and all these pedo references, and the Podestas have this pedophilia artwork. Well, how'd the artwork get out? Did what is his name? John Podesta, Tony's brother, just invite in Better Homes and Gardens? Hey, I'd like you to come in and take pictures of my pedo artwork. Well, if it was such pedo artwork, nobody would have been allowed in. It would have been a secret. A Jeffrey Dahmer, headless sculptor. These are things, and pissed on to the nth degree breadcrumbs they wanted us to find. And David Seaman and people like that talking about Pizzagate over and over again for years and years. And just incredible how they just not one, every single law enforcement officer in the whole D.C. region, they're all in on it. They all really wanted to investigate it, but they were just controlled, and it was all a big bunch of nonsense. What it does is it protects the real pedophilia, the underlying, the stuff that's in the shadows you'll never see. A Pizzagate situation protects that. It was protection for them, because anytime anybody points a finger that sick crap is going on, they created a situation where they could say, "You're saying what's going on? Didn't you learn your lesson? You idiots talked about the stupid Pizzagate thing. Nothing ever came from it. Megyn Kelly had James Alefantis on his show, and it was just you people in this truth community ruining the lives of good people." They can point to that every time and say, you guys are just trying to, let's say it's really going on. But if you point to it, they'll deflect it by saying this is just another idiot that's trying to say another Pizzagate's going on. And although many in the truth community think it's real, the Pizzagate story that is the story, if anybody down the street remembers it, or anybody in the general community, or the normal people around us in this country, if anybody remembers it, what they remember about Pizzagate is not all the stuff that we analyzed in the truth community here. All they remember is a bunch of nut-ass truthers through sensational claims ruined the lives of good people. That's what your neighbor understands of Pizzagate. Okay, do you realize that? So it's all manufactured bullshit. So somebody over here using the wrong presentation for that NASA lies, instead of just pointing out the NASA lies directly, they're going to drop the word flat Earth. He goes, I don't want to hear any more of it. If you would have just stuck to the NASA lies, somebody might have been interested. And the elite are into the sick shit, snuff films, pedophilia, whatever. And then whether you say the word Pizzagate or not, they're going to assign that Pizzagate. Oh boy, didn't you truth assholes learn your lesson with Pizzagate? That's what the people around us have been conditioned regarding the event. So the event played out exactly as they wanted it to play out. So this actually is an interesting part of this presentation. The way Alex Jones presents something versus, say, a Jordan Maxwell. Okay? Now, I'm not new to this. I'm not some idiot. I mean, over the years, yeah, I've heard every comment in the world to my channel for 8 years about who Jordan Maxwell is and not, and is a Mason, whatever. I don't want to hear it. I've listened to Jordan Maxwell on and off for years, and you know what? Even in certain areas where I might disagree, he gets me thinking in ways, and in different ways, thinking in terms that I'm not familiar with. So I applaud him for that. No matter what he is or what he's not, or he's working for Curiosity Stream now, I don't know. Anybody that gets me thinking outside of my box, I've tried to make my box as big as possible, but ultimately we're all stuck in a box. Anybody that can make that box bigger and push the walls out of the trash compactor a bit wider instead of having them closed down, that's what modern media does to us. It closes the trash compactor down. I applaud Jordan Maxwell for that. And he's never, in his presentations, no need to comment on Jordan Maxwell, okay, I heard it all. In his presentations, he doesn't say that much that is ridiculous sensationalism. He doesn't. But then when you go to David Icke, immediately he'll start talking about reptilian shapeshifters. And like I said, that doesn't get anywhere with anybody. Even if it's true. It's not going to change anything because no one's going to pay attention to it. But that, I say Jordan Maxwell versus Alex Jones. See, what Alex Jones' tactic is, back from the Graduated Animal Farm, his tactic is what is said may be said in a normal, intelligent fashion. Well, no, the words themselves may be intelligently presented, but the fashion in which they're said, I take it back, is completely insane. So his tactic is different. He develops an insane character or persona, where that insane persona is then presented to the rest of society or the country. So this is Alex Jones. Okay, I know it's poison. I know. So he presents himself to the world as this. This is then labeled nuts because of the way he goes about his business, with the number one example being the Piers Morgan, like I talked about a few chapters back, Piers Morgan debate on guns. Everybody knows that when you debate somebody, you stay calm and cool, and you present very calmly, rationally. 1776 will commence again if you take our guns. I hope that wasn't too disgusting as I opened my mouth, but I'll cut it out if it was. You just don't do that. You only do that if you want to appear crazy, screaming into Piers Morgan's face, 1776 will commence again, screaming it if you take our guns. And then Dershowitz, Alan Dershowitz, immediately comes out as the person to be interviewed after Alex to cement how crazy that guest just was. And the first thing out of his mouth is, I wouldn't want a man like that to own a gun. and then everybody watching goes, yeah, there's people like that actually own guns. We know that craziness of Alex Jones is a role he's playing in the script. The point is, he presents himself as this. This is then labeled nuts. So anything that comes out of this, anything that comes out of it, is then also nuts because of where it came from. It's simply Alex Jones will attach himself to as much truth as possible, and therefore it cannot be taken seriously. If you are trying to talk to a friend or family member about a certain issue, if they research it and find that Alex Jones has agreed with you, then by who Alex Jones is, you're then lumped in as a nut as well. And in the case of Sandy Hook, which is, again, their ace in the hole, anybody that believes Sandy Hook didn't happen is immediately crazy. See, Alex Jones he now apologizes about Sandy Hook, and there's been supposed lawsuits, and I don't think he's ever gone out and said it was fake, but he now apologizes and agrees that Sandy Hook happened, or I don't know, he did that apology, and that works even more to the system's favor, in my opinion, because people go, oh my God, like that crazy guy who says everything's fake, or not everything. He won't go there in some of the fake shootings, but even that guy, people observe. Here's what they observe: even that guy, Alex Jones, doesn't call Sandy Hook a conspiracy. So I've got this cousin Matt. Imagine how gone he is. Alex Jones, the worst of the worst, believes in Sandy Hook, and my cousin Matt doesn't. He's more gone than Alex Jones. And I've actually had people come to this conclusion because the way I've presented it. They've said, we used to listen to Alex Jones. Like, yeah, I used to listen. And they've said to me, well, you don't listen anymore? No. Well, he's not crazy enough for you? Like he's normal compared to people like me. And we've gone, they don't realize that the obvious reasons we've gone away from Alex Jones because we see what his role is in delivering the script. We see he's simply a puppet or a pawn for the system itself. But they say, you've actually, that's like somebody in Germany that embraced Hitler looking for a more radical candidate. That's what they think. So these people that have laid this system down, man, they've played us like a fiddle. And I'm not the only one waking up to some of the way we're being played, but we are certainly we are way, way behind in terms of understanding how we've been played. Even the games that the system plays in terms of how to screw over an entire group of people. We've talked about in the Graduated Animal Farm conservatism, how that's a much more normal wake-up process. Just seeing that the behemoth government shouldn't exist in the form that it exists in, versus the absolute lunatics on the liberal side that just bend over and want more of it. We've talked about that a couple chapters back. But how the system constantly is manipulating certain groups through their actors, like politicians, like Trump, actors, just role players. What they do is, and I have talked about this in the past, you have a group of conservatives, and again, conservatives they're just one or two steps away from that path that kind of leads to where we are. That's seeing that none of this should be taking place. This whole construct is a very sick and sinister thing. Conservatives ask basic questions that make sense, like, why would any government need to be $4 trillion? What are we doing with 90 military bases? Wouldn't that money be best served here? Nobody's ever attacked us. Just normal stuff like that. So what they do is, let's say, well, okay, conservatives are actually going down a little bit of a path towards wake up. We will get them to latch on to an insane leader like Donald Trump. Their leader, an insane, they would call many people in this conservative bucket still call Trump their leader and still are Trump supporters. They should have abandoned him the first day of his inauguration, because it was crystal clear on his first day he wasn't going to do anything he said, and therefore, if he wasn't going to do anything he said, by definition, he's just a puppet and pawn of the system, just like all of them. But unbelievably, most haven't abandoned him. So you make, the tactic is of the system, you make your leader, this leader of this group. Here's Trump the pencil. He's the leader. Oh boy, black and white stripes, just like, what does this say on it? Crosby Street Hotel, New York. A friend of mine got this for me. Crosby Street Hotel, New York. Oh, he's got the black and white. And he's got the black and white in his book title. You cannot make a mistake, or when you give this sort of presentation, you scratch your eye the wrong way, you'll get shit about it. So here's Trump. They make him out to be a lunatic. Therefore, but he's playing that role on purpose. Therefore, by definition, everybody that supported him is just not mentally sound, or really is going down the wrong path, or people that really are making the wrong choices in these elections. So he's there. Half the country might be considered in some way conservative, but because now they've demonized the leadership, Trump, he's done it to himself because he's playing that role as an actor. He's then tainted this entire group that supported him, and people are they get so dug in that they're just not big enough to say that, like many of us, even if we even going into the election, if we were holding out some degree of hope that this candidate could be for real, almost all of us, a day or two after the election, were big enough to say, well, this is just another actor. But most people aren't big enough to be able to see that. Most people are not ever big enough to say they've been played or they've made a mistake, and they just dig in more. So that's the purpose of all of these, Trump acting like a total buffoon all the time, because by his actions he also taints his millions and millions of supporters, and he taints conservatism itself, because there is no, if you're a conservative, well, what are you going to do? Pick Gary Johnson and the Libertarian Party? I know all these parties don't exist. I know it's all fake, but conservatism is a door that leads to understanding the way the world really works. So it would make sense that the system would try to demonize this group. Now the liberals over here, if they get their way, it's just constantly more of a perverted reality, more rules, more regulation, more government sticking its sticky, slimy tentacles up your you-know-what. They don't mind. They'll want to make this group seem to be the most honorable and intelligent group, presenting ridiculous characters on television like Bill Maher, and they always make them seem intellectual, and they always make them seem so smart and witty, like the what is that Comedy Central show with whatever that comedian was. They're never ever embarrassed. The Stephen Colbert's, for example, they're always presented as witty and smart, because from a systems perspective, if you can you want to get as many people into that camp, because that camp just leads to more laws, more slavery, more perversion, more abortion, just everything, more, children in California age 14 can get the morning after pill and flush their babies without parent consent. That's not even good enough to the leaders of this group. They would want eventually 12-year-olds to be able to get the morning after pill without parental consent, and then 9-year-olds. This is a real sick perversion. So if you are going to display the ruse to the people that we have two parties at odds with each other, well, more people are going to gravitate to this side because there's more normalcy to it, the conservative side. I don't know, this is my left. I'm trying to do it reverse, but this whole Mac reverses my image anyway. So this is just conservatives. This is supposed to the liberals. More people, you would think, would just naturally have to gravitate over here because of the general principles. People should be able to do what they want. People should be left alone. I mean, just kind of what the human being was built on. So the system always has to demonize this group. They do it through guns. They do it through, the leadership like Trump now. And this group has always seemed, it's harder to get in this camp because this group is just an abomination and perversion of anything that the natural human being is meant to do. The natural human being wants to be free and be left alone. Well, here's a government that's going to shove 80,000 rules and regulations down your throat. So the leaders in this group are always more, they're presented in a much more friendly way by the system. Like even Hillary, very just she's the smartest woman, and always she's the smartest woman anybody's ever met. And there was no evidence Hillary was very smart at all. Oh, Barack Obama, oh, just the smartest, one of the smartest individuals anybody's ever met. Just an absolute intellectual. That was the crafted story about Barack Obama. In my opinion, Barack Obama wasn't very intelligent at all. Now, definitely smarter than a lot of presidents, no doubt. Ronald Reagan wasn't very smart. Jimmy Carter, I mean, a lot of them are just utter buffoons. I don't even think Trump is that smart. I think he has a strong arm way of dealing with people, and that was helpful in his business career. I also believe he does have lineage and ties or even bloodlines. But Barack Obama was smarter than most, but he wasn't even in the ballpark as smart as the character that was presented to people. Well, Harvard this, and Occidental College that, and the chairman of the Harvard Law Review, or you go to research it, you can't find any information he ever did any of these things. And even he was somewhat competent in reading a teleprompter. I mean, I've been doing this now for almost an hour without a note. Are you saying you're smarter than Barack Obama? Yeah. But see, Barack Obama doesn't have to be smart or dumb. We don't know exactly what he is, because he's always been a role player. He's an actor. He's a pawn in the system. He never even tried to think outside of a box. So who knows how smart he potentially could be. He's always been a role player. He's been bred from his birth to play this role. I'm sure they have others waiting to go in case something happened to Barack Obama, but everything about it has been a script with Barack Obama. Even the whole that whole the birth certificate thing was a script that was planned out long ago. Who his real father is, Barack Obama Sr. from was it Nigeria? Where was he from? Kenya. Barack Obama Sr. versus who was the communist Frank. Who was the communist that supposedly helped bring up Barack Obama? Frank Marshall Davis in Hawaii. Frank Marshall Davis. It was all a construct. Those pictures we have of Barack Obama when he was 9 years old, pictures with his father in the airport. His father flew back. Who knows? I mean, who knows? It's much more likely that Frank Marshall Davis was his real father, like Joel Gilbert puts forth in that movie Dreams from My Real Father. But who knows? But the point is, it's all a grand play. It's all a script. And I was saying, back to the point, boy, what a stray, that Barack Obama and all the people on the left are praised as being the smartest, the intellectuals, the people you just wouldn't want to debate. That's what the leaders on the left, so because what they represent is so perverted, so sinister and anti what human beings are supposed to be all about, the opposite of conservatism, that people are so stupid they look and they say, well, the leadership is all really smart, and all the people in the media that lean left, like Bill Maher and Stephen Colbert and these witty comedian types, Jon Stewart is the name I was thinking of. They all seem smart, and see all the people in the media say how smart they are, and they're for the left liberal side. So maybe that's where the smart people should be. Most of the readers of the Atlantic magazine, for example, I don't even think they've thought it through themselves. I think they literally put themselves into that camp because it's kind of like they want to be surrounded with those types of people, or it makes them feel smarter, more intellectual. Where over here, you just have the people that want to go to gun shows, and then look at the leaders that they produce, like Donald Trump, and assholes like Lindsey Graham, and assholes like John McCain, who couldn't even remember what leg to put his cast on. And all that stuff is on purpose. He didn't fake an injury and forget where to put his cast. He put his cast on the wrong leg on purpose to see who notices. So the point of it, these are the games that the system plays, okay? And the last game that they play is they make the conspiracy so big that if they can pull off something so big, if anybody ever gets wind of it, then it can be used to belittle the argument of anybody that's supposedly aware and awake like we are becoming. The JFK assassination here is a good example. Myself and many people are starting to see that nobody was killed. Okay, nobody was shot. There was no assassination. Now, do I know that? Was I there laying out on the grassy knoll with the corn dog in one hand and my other dog in the other? No. Okay, I don't know. But, and I don't have time to go into it for another hour and a half here, but if you've looked at it as long as I have and others, it just appears to be a ridiculous script. Okay, I don't have time. I'll do it in the future. It's pretty clear to me that nobody was killed. Okay, I don't know that for sure. If anybody was killed or JFK was killed, it certainly wasn't some little Lee Harvey Oswald in his place of employment. Okay, but that we know that's ridiculous. But nobody was likely killed. Okay, now let's just say the system can get 1 million of us. Well, there's not that many people that really see what's going on. 100,000 of us to see that nobody was killed. Okay, now you have to understand, to anybody around us, how impossibly unbelievable that would be. We can kind of condition our minds to almost anything at this point. We're ready for almost anything. But if I start saying to anybody down the block that not only did Lee Harvey Oswald not do it with his $12 rifle that he ordered from Jeff Bezos and Amazon, did get it through mail order, nobody was killed. You just have to understand that that is so impossible for anybody to believe. It will never, ever be accepted. So one of the things the system has us doing in this community now, we are at these really bizarre levels where even when we have normal conversations with people, we are at such a bizarre level that here's the threshold of what anybody potentially will accept. Now, they don't even want to get to there through cognitive dissonance. If we even go here, they'll run in the other direction. They'll call us names, conspiracy theorists. But if in the perfect situation, they will accept up to here. So, per the very nature of the conspiracies that are run, they have moved the threshold up to here or to here. Which means if we even mention, if anybody gets wind that, if anybody gets Earth, Wind, and Fire, the old band from the 70s, if anybody gets wind that, Matt was saying some smart things about how we probably didn't go to the moon, but then I heard him talking about nobody was killed in the JFK assassination, boom, then that's it. The lock, it's clamped down. Nothing more can ever be presented. I am classified as somebody not worth listening to. And again, this is similar to some of the stuff I said earlier, like using the term reptilian or using the term flat earth. But some of the nature of the conspiracy that's been actually pawned off onto us has been so big that now that we're waking up to it, it's so big that it also serves to classify us that see it as insane. No planes is another good example. Sure, I can call Greg up right now and we could have a nice 30-minute conversation about planes, no planes, and we would likely agree there's no planes. I mean, the evidence isn't overwhelming, but it's pretty clear. Okay, look, I don't know. What went on 9/11, it was so bizarre, so ritualistic. There were things that could have happened that just outside of our own perceptual abilities. I mean, it's just that bizarre. So trying to understand exactly the who, what, where, when, why, and how using the normal means of how life is supposed to work on this earth, it doesn't add up, 9/11 in many areas. So, who knows what went on. But if you want to just use the metrics of the tools that this world gives us as to what should or should not be possible, it's likely there were no planes. There's more evidence for that than there was that there were planes at this point. The point is, remember that threshold. If anybody gets wind that Matt's talking to Greg, or my mom doesn't live with me, Mom, put my dinner in. It's just, I live here. Mom's not here, it's just me. I moved out a long time ago. I might move back in soon, but for now I'm out. If Mom were to walk in on me, and I'm talking to Greg, and I'm like, yeah, there's no planes in 9/11, nothing hit New York, she would immediately, I always knew he was crazy. See, that's so past the threshold of what anybody can present. And perhaps the conspiracies themselves are presented, are actually pulled off in such a grandiose fashion that they know that those that eventually can see what really happened, the truth will be so bizarre, they know it will be outside of folks' threshold or people's threshold as to what they will ever be able to accept. So, what did I miss? All right, in summary, I wrote down the word Matt Pimpled Butt, like someone's first name, last name, Matt, but the last name is Pimpled, like a big zit, Pimpled Butt, like a buttocks behind. Matt Pimpled Butt. So it's kind of like, this is a horrible analogy. I'm going to try to, made a little note here to try to close with something funny. This is some deep stuff and, as usual, kind of depressing. If you met, let's say some of you were going to be introduced to a woman at a bar or a blind date or a Match.com, it doesn't matter, and you had all the resume, 31 years old, junior partner at a law firm, pulls up in the Mercedes S-Class, all the things that a lot of young women covet this stuff. It's just, I'm saying what the perfect resume of a guy would be. Well, in society, this is what it would be. I'm just making a point. Comes in with a Armani suit and has all the looks, and she overhears him as he's approaching, talking to a friend that he just met. He's well spoken, and this guy's got it all, right? So he says, "How are you? You must be Lois Lane. I'm here to. Friend hooked us up. I'm a little embarrassed. He didn't. A friend just said Matt, but my name's Matt Pimplebutts. What's your name? I'm Matt Pimplebutts. Pimpabuzz? But what? No, Matt Pimplebutts. Pimplebutt. No, pimpled butt, like ED. Pimpled butt, like a pimpled butt. See, okay, if that's like leading a conversation with Flat Earth, or leading a conversation about truth with shape-shifting reptilian. Now, maybe he could get by that, but you understand how that would really kind of hurt to get off the wrong foot with somebody if you introduced yourself as Matt Pimpled Butt to a prospective young lady that you're supposed to be developing a relationship with. Many people wouldn't be able to get past it. It puts poor Matt Pimpled Butt in a hole from the start. He should have changed his name to maybe just Matt Butts. You understand, it's a horrible example, but I just wanted to close with something on the lighter side, because just how the right terminology can really get you off to a bad start if you choose the wrong terminology. And the wrong terminology is implanted into these communities by the system itself. Thanks for watching.